Creepiest thing a boyfriend girlfriend has done? I'm going to go tell my wife I love her. Because I am now f***ing petrified at the prospect of ever having to date again. Had an abusive ex of mine stop mid-coitus with this strange look of concentration in his eyes. I'm asking him what's going on. He ignores me. Just stays still and stares off. While still in me. He started urinating while still in me. He pissed in me. As if that wasn't the worst part. Then he blamed it on me. Said I pissed myself. His brother was a nurse. And told him it was impossible to have sex and pee at the same time. So he decided to try it on me. Stroke. He was a pretty abusive jerk in general. But that moment kinda took the cake. I dated a girl who, unbeknownst to me, had been shoving random things from around my apartment into her vagina and or rubbing her vagina on things. This came to light when I went into my room to get something when I thought she was in the bathroom. And she was actually in my bedroom masturbating with my pillow. In light of this, she comes clean about how for several weeks she had been rubbing her vagina on everything she could and shoving anything that would fit inside it when I wasn't in the room. This was her explanation as to why. I read in a magazine that if men smell a woman's pheromones they will subconsciously want that woman around. I really like you. You're the best guy I've ever dated. I just wanted you to be super into me. I think the writers of Cosmo are seriously trolling the shit out of these girls. This is hilarious. Doesn't involve a girlfriend. But just someone that I hooked up with one night. After having sex with her I got out of bed. She asked where I was going and I told her to go throw the condom away. She then told me not to throw it away and to give it to her. Turns out she was keeping a collection of all the condoms guys had used on her. Needless to say I got out as soon as I could. One girlfriend put Prozac in my cereal when I wasn't looking. Called me later to see how I was doing. And because I said I was having a nice day, took credit for straightening me out. That was very illegal. Would often wake me up in the middle of the night for SI times. Which was awesome, but eventually I asked her about it and she explained it was because I looked like I was dead. Apparently I sleep with my eyes open and breathe really shallowly. You did explain to her that she was actually bringing you back to life and if she ever stopped the midnight SI times you wouldn't wake up in the morning. Right? My boyfriend of the time and I were hanging out in my bedroom. My parents were home so we weren't doing much but he started teasing me and fingering me under my skirt. Something starts to feel weird and I say so. To this. He pulls a quarter out of my bag. Admitting he slipped it in a second ago. He also tried to act like it wasn't a big deal. My grandfather used to do something similar. Except the quarter was behind my ear. Dude. He was a wizard. Hid a pregnancy from her entire family. Gave birth in the backseat of her car. And cut the umbilical cord with a box cutter from work. Walked into her parents' house, where she lived, covered in blood. Half naked. And carrying a baby. Her mom freaked entirely the FCK out. Then she made me raise it for 2 months before a DNA test showed it wasn't mine. I had a girlfriend who would get really drunk, climb on top of me and think she was having sex with me. Mind you, we were fully clothed and just grind the crap out of my dick while I was in jeans and I would always be going commando. For like 5-10 minutes and just ramble the whole time. The first time it happened it was funny. So was the second time. The 5th time when she started talking about pies and dinosaurs was when it got really weird and I realized I was dating a raging alcoholic. Pies and dinosaurs you say? Sounds like a keeper. I woke up to the sound of a set of scissors closing. I look up to see her holding a tuft of my hair. She looks down and says, "I'm going to keep this. So I have a bit of you with me all the time." I woke up to the sound of a set of scissors closing. That's nightmare fuel right there. Lies. She was making Polyjuice potion. My girlfriend in high school made me promise to have sex with her dead body if she died. We haven't been together for years and I'm not sure if I'm still bound by this promise. You should ask bro. It's better to just in case you're contacted later when they read the will. I had a girlfriend who made a Facebook for me without my knowledge. Little did I know that she had kept it up even 2 years after we had broken up. The worst part being that she had updated pictures of me up until the day I had confronted her about it. She also knew what I had done and where I had been on exact dates. But she is a bold ex. She once, not too long ago, asked me out while I was with my current girlfriend. My girlfriend and I bought a futon off Craigslist. The woman selling it was in her early 20s and alone in her single bedroom apartment. She said that she was going to be moving out of town to live with her boyfriend a few hundred miles away. We struck up a conversation about how all her neighbors were away for the summer, college town, and it was great because she could play her music as loud as she wanted. After we had loaded the futon into my pickup truck and started to drive away, my girlfriend turns to me and says, "You could have just killed her. I mean, no one would have known. Like, you could have just killed her and no one would know for weeks." I then posed the question if my girlfriend was real or just a hallucination attempting to drive me to murder. My husband talks in his sleep. One night I woke up to him howling. Then he sat up in bed, looked around the room and stared at me with a blank expression. Something you would see in a horror movie. The next thing I knew, he had grabbed my arm and was pretending to eat it. I was pretty freaked out by this point, so I asked him what he was doing. He replied, "They told me to." Rolled over and went back to sleep. On another occasion he was sleep talking and woke me up to tell me that there were people in the corner of our incredibly dark bedroom. My roommate in college used to do this. Creepiest thing ever. There was something about the way her voice was sleepy and unlike her regular voice. And the creepiest time was when I asked as we were falling asleep in our dark room, "When did Callie leave?" And she said she didn't. "She's in the closet." When I asked, "What?" she just laughed maniacally. I was too creeped out to ask further or go look, so I just hid in my top bunk. When I was in college, a guy took interest in me and later that week, he gave me a present. A working key to my front door. Apparently he was a locksmith and had somehow memorized the pattern on my house key when I left them on my desk. I had to change the locks on my house. I don't think changing the locks on a locksmith works. BTW. Amateur locksmith here. He was just, clumsily, trying to amuse you by showing off a minor skill. I can totally relate. As for changing the locks on your house, he could have done it for free. Close bracket. You are now aware that anyone who spent a weekend reading about keys on the internet can enter your home anytime. Terrible for you. Amazing memory for him. My first boyfriend. High school. 7 months into our relationship I get a call from him under the preface of "There's something I need to tell you." What he had to tell me was this. About a year ago when he was getting into drugs for the first time, his dealer friend picked him up to go to his apartment. And for whatever f***ed up reason they decided to pick up a homeless person on the side of the road. When they get to the apartment they get super f***ed up and his friend, out of nowhere, pulls out a gun and shoots him in the head. My BF said that he was under the influence of so much tea that his friend convinced him to cannibalize part of the homeless guy. And he hadn't told anyone except me. 3 months later found out it was a complete lie that he told to FCK with my head because he felt I was getting distant and he wanted to make me care about him again. Oh. Also he had never actually done any drugs. He was just a manipulative pathological liar. Yeah, we aren't dating anymore. 10 years or so ago, I was dating this chick named Mandy. We went out for a couple of months, but we broke up for some reason I don't quite recall. What I do recall is that shortly after we broke up, she broke into my apartment while I was at work and cleaned it. She cleaned it really well, actually. And then she put Vaseline handprints all over the bathroom mirror, the windows in the apartment, and on the other smooth glossy surfaces throughout the apartment, like the microwave and the stove window. Seriously. Vaseline handprints. WY. My perfect boyfriend was at the store one day when I got on his computer to surf the net. I noticed a folder on the desktop called Plans and I opened it up, thinking it might contain his designs to purchase real estate like we had discussed. Instead it had extremely detailed outlines on how to create an elaborate brothel that caters to pedophiles and man-boy love. Shocked. Browsed further into his documents folder and came across roughly 10 gigs of child pornography. I was 3 months pregnant with his child at the time and, up until this moment, I was head over heels in love. I promptly kicked the bastard out. My daughter is a year old now and as far as she knows she has no father. I hate it when people say to me, well, don't you think she will want to meet him someday? It's not about you. It's about your child having a good relationship with both parents. I want to punch those people in the f-king face. Woke up one night to my ex-GF whispering, "You're gonna marry me. You're gonna marry me. You're gonna marry me," in my ear. I don't know if this is creepy, but one time a girl and I got caught by my mom. I saw mom first, and my mom's pretty cool so I didn't panic. I just kinda stopped what I was doing, we were just making out, and sat up. My girlfriend at the time fell over like she had fainted, face first into my lap. She literally played dead right there in front of my f-king mom. I nearly laughed. And mom did laugh. Then to make it all worse, my troll of a mother decided to sit on the chair opposite us and light up a cigarette while she continued to play dead. It was probably the most amusing movement of my life. 1. A lot of these stories turn me on. 2. I've never had an ex that creeped me out. Conclusion. I'm the creepy ex. My ex was the most insecure person I've ever met. She felt as though she had to be around me constantly. If I ever did anything without her, even if she was working or otherwise busy, she sank into a depression that lasted for a day or more. One day I had a friend in town that I rarely got to see. He had planned a bit of a get together with all our mutual friends. Nothing big. Just a few guys sitting around talking about guy stuff. Anyway, I explained to her that I wanted to go see my friends and that I wouldn't be gone long. She then goes nuts. There are tears and snot pouring out of her face. She's yelling at me and I start yelling back. The argument escalates and she eventually yells through her crying, "All I want to do is get pregnant and have babies." To me that was creepy. My ex threw her period gunk at me once. Or the tampon. But she literally reached into her vagina and asked me want a present? Then grabbed this glob of congealed blood out of her vagina and threw it at me. Equals O. This wasn't even a BF or ex. One creepy guy in high school always stalked me. He would drive past my house all the time and follow me everywhere around school. Even back in middle school he would always sit near me on the bus. Which by the way wasn't even his bus. So, yeah, this went on for years. He was 2 years older and was one of those kids that pretended he was in a gang. He brought knives to school a few times. On several occasions he threatened to kill himself if I didn't give him a chance. The last time I saw him he cut himself in front of me 7 times for the 7 letters of your name. He said. He went off to juvie shortly after. And years later returned with my name tattooed on his chest. He liked you. My boyfriend looks me square in the eyes and says, "So, how do you know I'm not just a really patient serial killer?" Well, he's got a good point. Threads like this one stay good the whole way down. I was dating this girl for about 6 months and she could never let me be alone. She always had to know what I was doing. Right before I broke up with her I caught her looking through my window to see what I was doing. It wouldn't have been so bad if I didn't live on the 2nd floor. Bitch brought a ladder to my house to see what I was doing in my room upstairs. I'm sorry if it ended badly. But that's f-king hilarious. She climbing in your windows. I like to walk up very quietly behind my husband while he is brushing his teeth. If I time it right he will be looking down spitting into the sink. I stand just behind him and to the left and make some sort of crazy face. It creeps him out every time. I am chuckling just thinking about it. I was in Vietnam 1967 to 1968. One of the guys in our hooch barracks had his girlfriend send him her used panties once a week. He kept them under his pillow. Her scent kept him sane and happy for the duration. Whatever works. Right? That's actually pretty heartwarming. Well, it wasn't really a boyfriend. He was an ex still trying to get back with me, and he gave me a bag of dog hair. Have you ever brushed a dog? What the FCK else are you supposed to do with it? Oh man. This thread makes my old exes look so normal. Sent me her new kitten's umbilical cord for Valentine's Day. The above is 100% truth. Not particularly creepy. Just awesomely vindictive. An ex-girlfriend, knowing that I have a potentially fatal nut allergy, returned my clothes, console games etc to me by way of filling the bag holding said items with peanuts and leaving it on my doorstep while I was at work. On reflection, I'm quite impressed. I used to be creepy at FCK from my instability. I've since gotten help, meds, and learned to control it. Nowadays I think back about such moments and feel ashamed that I was that guy and that I can't really apologize to the terrific women I was a douche to. However, that said, a girl I was dating in high school, junior year, for a few months started losing her grip on reality and, one day out of the blue, gets up out of the bed we were snuggling in, grabs a pair of scissors from her floor, looks me in the eyes, and slashes her wrist. The rest is blurry in my mind, but I remember grabbing her in my arms to immobilize her, yelling for her mother, and then her being committed for psychiatric help. Not really a creepy moment as much as a psychotic. Another one was during SI times with my GF in my room, sophomore year. She looks back at me over her shoulder and screams, "Oh yeah. FCK mommy." That was uncomfortable. After reading this thread, I have decided to become a monk. At first year of uni, got with a girl towards end of first year. Odd things happen in bed that I until the internet I had not seen nor heard of. Gets to summer, we both retreat to our hometowns. I get a job in a top class fast food restaurant working nights. Maniac girl rings my house every evening at 8. Asking why I'm not there. Mum speaks to her and says I'm out. This girl was a bit needy and my mum would chat the back legs off a horse, so they start having some long converse. Maniac girl cries lots. Every time. Mum tells me to ring her to set her one way or the other as she is getting upset as maniac girl is having asthma attacks. I ring up maniac. Tell her I didn't know she was asthmatic. She says, "What asthma attacks?" Turns out she was fingering herself over the phone whilst talking to my mum whenever my mum mentioned me. Happened 6 or 7 times too. Never told my mum. Ever. TLDR. I dated a Christian girl that only did anal. She was saving her virginity for marriage. I love America. Pissed on my face. My wife woke me up slapping the shit out of me after she dreamed that I chose sleeping with 2 hot lesbians over her. Another was with my current GF. She was new to Canada and although her English was good, a lot of common expressions were lost on her. Once while going at it doggy style, I slapped her on the ass and said, "Who's your daddy?" Which was funny at the time. Later she started calling me daddy every time we would have sex. Then later in public, she didn't understand the expression at all and thought I had a weird daddy fetish. To her credit, she just went with it. But when I finally had to ask her why she was calling me that all the time, it was a very funny conversation. Tried to break into my apartment that I shared with 2 other girls while I was out at a movie with a friend, male friend. Completely innocent. We're talking. Jiggling doorknobs. Attempting to lockpick. Scaling walls and trying the back doors and windows while my roommates were home. He eventually called one of the roommates asking if she was at home and could he come by in an hour. His campus was an hour away. saying he left something in my room that he needed for class the next day. As this phone call took place, my roommate told me she could see him standing in the backyard. What the FCK? A guy scaled up the side of my friend's apartment complex and let himself in the balcony door so he could wait and surprise her. This was after 2 dates. She was surprised alright.